Hey y'all, welcome back to our channel. I'm Angie and this is Our Contented Home. In today's video, I'm sharing a DIY that I started last summer and it took me several months to complete it, but I'm so excited to let you know that I finally finished it and I'm finally ready to share it with y'all. It is a DIY on my kitchen table that I bought from Facebook Marketplace and I'm so excited about it. I love how it turned out and I want to share it with you and share my tips and tricks that I did to refinish it. Here's the video and I hope you enjoy it. This is the table that I'll be working on, and I found this table on Facebook Marketplace for this little nook because the table that I had at our last house was too small for this area, and I love the size and the style of this table, but I didn't love that the wood was so shiny, but I knew I could fix that. When I brought this in, I noticed that the wood tone is so similar to my wood trim. And so I also want to refinish it so that it will offer a contrast in this little nook and make the space a little more cozy and welcoming. I'm going to give this table a makeover. I'm going to show you how I do it, and I will share the whole breakfast nook makeover in a couple of weeks. This is the product that I'll be using to strip the finish off of my table. It's called QCS, which stands for Quick, Clean, and Safe. It's non-hazardous and eco-friendly. And so I got this to see if it would work on my table and just get that thick finish off the top of it. I laid my table out on cardboard because I didn't know if this product would strip the paint off of anything else that I had it on. So I wanted to be safe and not do that, so I just put this table on a piece of cardboard. And this product comes with a nozzle that you can use as a spray bottle. And I just put mine on the mist setting, that way I didn't waste any of the product. And then I just sprayed it all over the top of my table. And you just coat it really well, and then you want to wait at least 20 minutes after you've coated it on there. Now do not let your product dry out, and keep it moist, and you'll start to see these bubbles start to form. Mine did not have the amount of bubbles that I thought it should, and so I went ahead and sprayed it again with this product. And then I just coated it really well, making sure that it continued to stay wet, because if it dries out, it really becomes sticky, and you do not want that. So I just coated again, and then I let it sit for another 20 minutes, and then I go back and check it to make sure it's ready to be scraped and for me to start working on the next step. After you've waited the specified amount of time and you've seen those bubbles appear on your piece of furniture, it's time to start scraping that away. I always use a plastic putty knife because this makes sure that I do not gouge the wood with a metal putty knife, and these plastic putty knives work well for me. I just end up disposing of them after I finish a piece of furniture. And this part gets really messy, so you want to make sure that you have paper towels nearby or old rags, or like I'm doing with a piece of cardboard. And since this product is eco-friendly, I can just throw my cardboard away when I finish. And you just keep doing this until you have all the product scraped away from the top of your table. If it starts to dry out, just spray it again with your product and make sure that it does not dry out. You can see how easily this product is getting that shiny finish off of this table. And I had to be really careful because this table has the groove in it for the leaf, and then it's got the decorative grooves around the edge of the table, and I didn't want to get any of this sticky stuff down in those grooves, and so I just kind of scooped it off of the table. I finally went and got me a cardboard box and just kind of scooped it in there. It would help if you had paper towels. I did not have any on hand, and so I just did this, and it worked pretty well. You don't have to worry about getting every little bit off, because after this step, we're going to clean it well with the same product, and so it'll get all the rest of that off of there. My husband did go graciously get the umbrella, and he put it up for me. I started this project in the morning when it was a little bit cooler, but then by the afternoon it was really hot. I did this project last summer, and so the umbrella helped out immensely. This was my setup after he put up the umbrella, and I think this project took me just about all day to finish, but this umbrella helped out really well, and you can see that most of the finish is off of the table by now. For this next step, I wanted to pour some of the QCS into a plastic bowl, and I also am using steel wool. And what I do on this part is I just dip my steel wool into my product, and then I just scrub the table with it. So whatever the plastic putty knife did not remove, this steel wool with the product on it will remove it. And so I just want to go all over the table, removing that top coat on this table, and then some of that sticky mess that's on there. It'll also clean that up. So I just go over the whole table doing this process. I do the same process on the bottom of my table. Just spray the solution on and then let it sit, let it bubble up, and then I just wipe this off with steel wool. For this next part of the process, now you want to sand the table. You've got that thick, shiny finish off of the top, and now you want to sand it down to the bare wood. So I'm using 80 grit sandpaper here, and I just use it all over the table, making sure that I bring my finish down completely to the bare wood because I'm going to be restaining this table. If you want to paint your table, then you don't have to take it down to the bare wood, but since I'm restaining, it's going to be all the way down so that I can start over from scratch. And then after you do this part and you get it all the way down to the bare wood, then you're going to change out your sandpaper to 100 grit and then 150 grit and then 220 to give it that really smooth finish that we're looking for. Now the base of this table is a little more challenging because it has all these little spaces that you have to get in and sand. So I did get me a little hand sander so that I could get in the small spaces on this table, and this worked really well for me. Now you still have to do some hand sanding, but it's not very much, and this really got the finish off for me and really helped out a lot. I'll link mine below that I used. It was not very expensive, and I've used it several times since this table, and it's holding out really well. So it's good for the little bitty precise areas that you have on furniture, and I love this tool. For this part of the table, I did hand sand it with 80 grit sandpaper, and then this allowed me to get in all those little areas on this clawfoot table that I couldn't get with my sander. But I just kept doing this until it was all sanded off. And I also sanded off the areas between the legs that my sander couldn't get. After that part was finished, I wiped all of the dust off with a rag. You could also use a vacuum cleaner to do this, or one of those tack cloths to make sure all the dust is gone. This next step is completely optional, but I want my wood table to have a certain look to it. So I'm going to give it a whitewash before I put the stain on it. So what I do is I water my paint down, and the consistency is about 8 parts water to 1 part paint. So it's very runny. And then what I do is I take my paintbrush and then I just dip it into my watered down paint and I paint it on the table so that it acts as a stain, but it's not really a stain. And I just want to tone down some of this orange and red in this wood so that the stain will take and look exactly like I want it to look. So I just do this all over the table, and then I just paint it on, and then I'm going to go back and wipe it off with a cloth. This is what my table looks like after giving it a whitewash. And if you like this look, you could leave it this way, just put a top coat on it, and it would be perfect. But for my space, I want it a little bit warmer, so I'm going to take this one step further. For the stain, we're using Special Walnut. And when you don't want to shake your stain, you want to just take a paint stirrer or a popsicle stick and stir it really well, making sure that you get all the sediments off of the bottom. If you shake it, it will have bubbles in it, and then that'll show on your piece of furniture. And then I always use a sock. You probably want to use gloves for this, but I didn't have any. But I'm going to use a sock because I just control the stain better. And then I'm just going to start staining. You want to just dip your sock in, wipe it off, and then rub it on. And then you want to take your rag. I have a t-shirt, but something that doesn't have any lint. And you want to wipe off the excess. And then we'll let that leg dry, and we'll see if we need to put another coat on. So this is what we're looking at so far. Just a subtle change. But when it dries, it'll dry a little darker, and then we can look at it and see if we need another coat or if we want to try a different color stain. To enhance the different wood grain, you can use different colored stains. So that's what we have so far. I decided to use this color stain all over the base of the table, so that's what I'm doing now, is just covering the whole bottom part of the table in this color stain. I did whitewash the top of my table just like I did the base, but I didn't get a video of me doing this. But what I did was I whitewashed it and then I stained over it. But I made a rookie mistake and I did not use pre-stain conditioner on my wood before doing this process. And when I did this, it caused this table to have really bright white spots in it, streaks. You can kind of see them in this video. And when I stained over it, it made them very visible and it just looked awful. This process had been so long, I just was going to live with it for a while and see if I liked it. And so we did put it in the kitchen, but it really drove me crazy because it was not my best work. And so after a few months, I sanded it all the way down again, and then I applied my pre-stain wood conditioner. Now what you want to do with this is you want to stir it just like you did the stain from the bottom. Don't shake it. And then you just apply it like you would a stain. You just put it on. I used a foam brush that I got at the Dollar Tree. And then you just do one section at the time, painting it on and then wiping it off. You don't want this to dry on your wood. You want to make sure that you wipe it off. And don't skip this step because it is very vital to your project. And what it does is it conditions the wood so that if you sand it harder in certain areas, it will treat that spot so that the stain will take evenly. So learn from my mistake and don't skip this step. It's very important, and my table looks so much better after I did this step to my wood. This part is just where I'm wiping this pre-stain conditioner off of my table before it dries. And you want to do this on every section. Paint it on and then wipe it off with a lint-free cloth. After you've added pre-stained wood conditioner to the whole table and then wiped it off, you want to take a 220 fine grit sandpaper and sand your whole table again. This just helps the wood fibers to lay down, it smooths them out, and it makes it ready for the stain. Next, it's time for me to reapply the stain to my table, and I do this just like I did the base of the table. I dip my sock into the stain and then rub it onto my table, and then I wipe that back with a lint-free cloth. Now, I tested stain colors on different types of wood before I stained my table, and I found out this is the color that I wanted. But you should also know that if you stain your table and you want it a little bit darker, that you can let it dry the amount of time it says on the can. I think it's 2 to 3 hours, and then you can reapply the stain to make it a little bit darker. And you can apply as many coats as you would like. You just need to allow that drying time between coats. And you also need to sand between coats. So keep that in mind. It kind of raises the wood grain, and so to get a smooth finish and a flawless finish, you want to make sure that you sand between each coat. I only added 1 coat of stain to this table, and I was satisfied with the look and the color that I was going for. I let my stain dry overnight, and then I was ready for the top coat. And you don't want to forget this step because it protects all of your work, and especially when you're doing a dining room table or a kitchen table, you want to protect the surface because you're going to have cups on the table, you're going to have food on the table, and you want to protect that surface. I did a lot of research on what I wanted to use as a top coat because I didn't want it to be shiny, but I wanted it to be protected. And so what I decided to go with was Dixie Belle Gator Hide, and it's really easy to apply, and you just stir it up just like you do stain. And then I poured a little bit into this paper plate, and I used the sponge that they sell for you to apply it with, and I really love applying top coat with this sponge. And so I think that I will do this from now on because it's so much easier than just using a brush. To use this product, you just dip your sponge into the top coat and then you just apply it onto your table and you do long strokes from the middle of the table to the end. And you just do this all over the table, and you just put light coats on there, and you'll end up putting at least 3 coats on top of your table because you want to be protected because it's that kitchen table. And so I just did this all over the table, and I really love applying top coat with this sponge. It just makes it so much easier than applying it with a brush. And so I just keep doing this all over the table, and like I said, I apply 3 coats to the table. I'll link this product and the other products I used on refinishing my table in the description box below. But with this product, I've been really impressed with it because we've been using the table for about 6 months, and it's held up really well. No marks from cups or plates or anything like that. And it just wipes clean when anything drops on it. And I'm just super impressed with this product. And I'm really glad that I went with it on refinishing my table. It's not shiny, it's perfect. Thank y'all so much for watching. I hope that you were inspired by this video, and maybe you'll find a kitchen table or some piece of furniture to refinish. I would love to know in the comments. As always, thank y'all so much for watching. If you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button, and you can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, and my blog, Our Contented Home. I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye.